Oh my goodness. All right. All right. It's that time. Let's get going here. Get things started, right? There we are. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It is so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is June 26th, 2025. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? How's it going? Looks like we're getting started. I started a little bit early, but looks like we're a little bit slow out of the gate today. That's okay. We've got a few folks here getting us started. We're broadcasting live on Twitch and YouTube. You can tune in both locations, catch up with us. Hope you're having a fantastic morning, afternoon, wherever you might be. Let me say hello to Wise Otter. How you doing there? Smirking Squiggly with a big let's go. Phil Vesey, how you doing there? Robson Previato, good morning to you. C-Sharp Titan, hello. How you doing there in Melbourne, Australia? Twincy with a big wave, how's it going there? You just reinstalled your entire machine, says Robson. Fresh new Windows 11 installation. Oh man, there's something about having a fresh install on your PC. You don't have all that junk floating around that's taking up space, that's starting up and just grabbing all the memory and resources on your machine. Yeah. I do hope the visor glasses arrive soon. Still no updates from the company. Ooh, go ahead, take a look at the hat. There you go. And now we're getting into the area of worry. Now we're getting into with these folks. They promised delivery of all the Founders Edition glasses would be done in Q2. That ends on Monday. And there has not been a word from them, a shipping update one way or the other. It still says on the website, right? It still says on the website that they're shipping all of the Founders Edition in Q2, which ends on Monday. I'm looking at the FAQ. What is the expected shipping date? Yep. All Founders Edition visors shipped by Q2. We initially thought, oh, that means they're shipping in Q1, so they're shipped before Q2. We should have these delivered by the end of March. No. Okay, so here we are at the end of Q2. Now what? So we're the Discord community, the immersed Discord community that is talking about and chatting about the visor. We're plenty worried at this point, and they're I think they need to do something, or else there is going to be a full-on revolt against them if they say nothing and we get to Tuesday and nobody has shipping indicators. There's going to be a full. I'm not going to ask for a refund because I've spent the money. I'm not hurting for it. I don't need it coming back to me. But there's going to be some really angry people. So let me see here. Yep, it's my Overwatch icon hat. There you go. So it is the Overwatch logo. How you doing there, Codebase Alpha? Good afternoon to you in Birmingham, UK. Yes, Immersed will be getting a lot of pain from their investors if it hasn't started already. Yes, we do know that they have been sending messages to their investors, and we do know that there are several classes of their investors. They've been recruiting and taking open investments from folks through, I forget the fundraising platform they're using over here, but literally when you browse to the website, it comes up and immediately says, "Hey, would you like to invest?" And on the website it says that they've raised how many millions? $21 million on the website. And where great, deliver the product that you're bragging about that you made now. So but we know that there is an initial angel investor round that they've been getting access to the prototypes and the early versions of the device. This open investor round that they've been running online. If you contribute a certain dollar figure, you'll actually get the device before the public, is what they say. Like, okay, now what? So the folks on the Discord community are plenty frustrated with them at this point. So, yeah. But I'm very much looking forward to it. I do use the immersed software and code using VR already. And they are talking about version 2 of the device. Like, there are people who are very concerned that they're often running and building other products instead of finishing the first product that they've taken orders on and are already more than a year late on delivering. So, hey, Zebcode, how you doing there? Where's my mug? It's right here. There you go. Yeah, immersed. Yeah. The visor that clips your cycle helmet. Yeah. It's a everybody who's used this has said it's a fantastic device. But you got to deliver. So, we'll see. We will see. Charlie is running in the background so that I can monitor, get into questions, and yeah, and you're going to see questions that we answer here, right? Because this Q&A segment, I think, is the section that folks really enjoy. You'll see these questions end up popping up over on the Discord. So, it did properly plot Codebase Alpha and C# Titan. Excuse me, C# Titan on the map. I can pull up the map because I know folks enjoy seeing all the flags appear over there. There you go. Bring that up, and I'll get some music playing in the background here as we get started. What is that? No. I'm going to go with the Stream Beats EDM playlist here today because I want to get a little productive and get through this and do some cool stuff. I'm going to play this song called Sky's the Limit. This is music that's DMCA free, royalty free. Use it wherever you'd like. Check it out at streambeats.com. There's all kinds of genres available. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team of creators for this music we're listening to today. Hey, Napalm, how you doing there? The mug with my trademark. I don't have... I do have one or two mugs with my face on it. And it feels weird to be drinking from them on stream. But... and I've talked about wanting to put together swag at several times. And some folks have said, hey, yeah, I absolutely would be interested, and I would support and buy swag. So maybe that's something I'll spend some time on in July, getting some swag designs in there. Maisie, how you doing there? Yo. Is Wise on GitHub? Is Wise on GitHub? Hello, how you doing, Napalm? Yes, the frying pan that is currently Pittsburgh. Not going to pick up that message. Not going to pick that one up and plot it there. But I will make sure that I put my mark there on the map. There you go. So you can see where I am relative to everybody else. So there you go. Some other folks dropping some message there. Yeah. Is my project on GitHub? This one, it's not public yet. Other projects that we're going to work on stream are public. This one will eventually be. There's some differentiating features that I've been building here that I want to keep to myself until I've got them rounded out, and then I will share them. Because quite frankly, I've had folks copy things that I've done on stream, and I want to establish a little bit of an advantage for myself first before I start giving things away. So Hey, Jay Tandon, how you doing there? Yeah, I feel the same way. Good luck getting the visor. Like, come on, friends. It is Thursday. If you are not shipping, you need to say something. So, and I'm actually going to write that on their Discord right now. In the next, we should hear. There needs to be some messaging about what the delay is. There we go. Let's see what happens. Hello to you, Francisco in Porto. How you doing there? Let's see. Am I still working on SharpSite? Yes, but there's some other things that I need to get done and update, and I want to get some of the features in Charlie done before I get too far into July and we get to our workshops. We're going to have the 18th and the 25th. The 18th, we're going to be talking about, we're going to learn all about how to use AI with our .NET applications. The 25th, we're going to learn about .NET Aspire. So I want to make sure that this is working well, so that I can use things like putting up your messages and responding to them and getting them to load over there into the Discord. This is important to me to get this working so that when we're in the workshops, as folks are asking questions, you'll be able to go and discover and refer back to that content. So you'll see that now appear in my Discord in the live Q&A forum. Langton's Entropy. This map looks very similar to the map on Ubuntu installer, same colors and lines. I am using, this is OpenStreetMaps, and it's using Leaflet. You can see down here I'm using Leaflet. So it's a free open source map. There's other folks that are using this same tool in different technologies. Are they using it on the Ubuntu installer? I don't know. Maisie with a question here. Am I cool with people pen testing it? Pen testing what? Give me a little bit. People pen testing this chatbot. You can't touch it. So, like, there is no direct access to it. This is all running local in my home network, so you can't really pen test it from there. Your interaction is through chat, or you get to read messages in Discord. That's about it. The Copilot.John website, that's all static content. There is no interaction that happens with it, so you can try pen testing, but there's nothing there. There is no interactive content on that site, so it's not going to do anything. So there's that. And you should see those messages pop up on, like I said, they should be appearing in the Discord, in the live stream questions forum. Yeah, there they go. Now, they won't link directly to the timestamp inside of this YouTube video yet. Once the live stream is over, those links will go through and you will they will land exactly on where those questions start. Is Copilot.John SSR server-side rendered? Yes, it is, because it's actually Razor Pages. I built that with Razor Pages. Yeah, this is This is the feature I want to work through a little bit here. No, not Blazor SSR, but Razor Pages. Where? No, not this one. Yeah, there it is, Pages. And you see these are straight CSHTML files that we're using. So it is not Blazor SSR. C# Titan. C# Titan has a question here. A question about AI. How do I think it will affect people who do coding challenges on a project from home and send it back to the organization? How will the company know if the person wrote the code or if it was being done by Copilot? Good question. They won't. And for that matter, will they care at that point? There comes a point, there will come a point in the evolution of the technology here and how we write code that you don't care if they used Copilot to generate, if they if they wrote it themselves. You care how long they took to do it, how well it meets the requirements, and what are the other considerations that they completed as part of responding to that coding challenge. Asking someone to write the code that reverses a string, those days are gone. It's going to be, you need to deliver and think about how your code works better, which is going to certainly grow and have different implications. Let me turn on streamer mode over here so that we don't hear Discord ringing. Developers. So, yeah, somebody saying now, take it easy, calm down about the visor. No, no. So this is ending quickly. So, Robson Previato with a question here. Any particular reason not to use Blazor with Copilot that, John? This I wasn't planning to build anything interactive with it. It's strictly a reference website with tips. I'm going to put the feature I want to finish and put in here today is image rendering, embedded video hosting. So since it doesn't have those interactive features, let's just keep it simple and straight at just render this HTML and paint it on the screen. I could have gone as far as pre-render all the content and just output static HTML. I could have gone that far, and quite frankly, it would save me a bundle of money. But no reason other than it's not interactive. If it were to become an interactive site, maybe we could ramp up and do some of that. Used AI for your last coding test, but now you use it every day on your job too. They don't care. Yeah, exactly. They just want to get the job done. What's the difference if I do it at work all day? They want to know you can use the tools effectively. Yes. It's like if somebody were to ask you to write some code on a whiteboard. Like, I would come out immediately at the beginning. If somebody says, hey, write me an algorithm that I don't know, manages a linked list. I'm going to come out and say, okay, you want me to do this on the whiteboard? I'm not going to write C# or JavaScript or TypeScript or Python code. I'm going to write it with pseudocode. If you want me to write it with tools and you want to see accurate delivery of exactly what that is, then let me use those tools. Because the exercise of write the code on the whiteboard is asking, I want to see how you think. The exercise of, I want to see if you know C#, then let me use the tools that you would expect me to use when you want me coding C#. So, there was a time when you couldn't use a calculator in an exam, and there was a time when you could. Exactly, Marcus. Yep. Those coding tests tell me the last time you had to write a sorting algorithm from scratch. Yeah, nobody does that anymore. Nobody does that. Because there are sorting algorithms in libraries that are optimized and run much, much faster than you can write them. Why? Because the folks that wrote them are PhDs, and they've optimized the snot out of them to use memory more optimally than you will ever consider. It's literally these people's life work, and they know their stuff. So, you remember having to write a linked list for your coding interview? Yeah. Weird Beard Dev, happy Thursday to you. You never said a coding test when hiring devs, instead writing a code review test. So I think I've mentioned before, I wrote a very brief coding test for people who we were hiring to the first .com company I was working at in 2000. And it was a very simple, do you know HTML test. There were 4 questions on the test. Give me the markup to generate a table that has a label for and has your name next to each other in 2 cells, and then has a label for your email and then your email address on the next row below it. Literally 4 cells. Give me the HTML for that. Now, bold the labels was the second question. The third question, put your name in blue. And I forget what the fourth question was. That was it. And nobody finished this test that they wanted to interview. And I said to them, they were telling me, you've made the test too hard. I said, I'm asking literally HTML 101 questions. I don't want to hire a developer that doesn't know the basics of HTML. And there were tons of ways that you could answer those questions. You could have used a font tag. You could have used CSS. You could have used a bold tag. I was looking for you to use a table. I want to know that you know how to use table tag, TR, TD, and that you know what begin and end tag are. There were people who turned it in without writing a thing and walked out. Like, if I were to interview somebody today and ask them some basics about C#, I'd ask them to and I needed to see that they knew some C#, I'd ask them to write a simple class that represents a person or a contact. Then in another block of code, create that person. How do you write that person? And assign your name to that person object. Done. If I needed to get to test somebody's C# skills, that would be it, and I would have them do that on paper. If I wanted to make sure they at least knew the basics of C#. Because after that, I know you're using AI and whatnot. I see a couple questions coming in. Let me catch up. Let me go to this question from Joik. Why isn't it appearing here on screen? Because I didn't turn on that. There we go. Do I also make reviews on architecture? Just seeing production web apps doesn't help that much in certain areas, as the architecture doesn't work directly. They're the same. It's certainly, I think it's a good idea to talk to interview candidates about architecture. Sure. What types of architecture have you worked with? Have you used typical Onion N-tier architecture? Have you worked with CQRS? What are some of the ways that you've written code? What's the most interesting code architecture that you've used? Are you familiar with using dependency injection capabilities? These types of things I think are inbounds to talk about. and it's more to get your hands around what's their exposure and experience to shifting how they work with architectures. How are they using things that aren't the typical technologies that you see in the book? And those steps tell you a little bit more about how quickly they can learn and adjust to your way of doing business and writing code. Thank you for the question. Really appreciate that. Let me see here. Langton's Entropy. I saw some C# development on a Linux environment content. Some say it's good, some say it's the worst thing. What do I think? C# development on Linux is awesome. It's great stuff. .NET and C# runs so well on Linux. It runs great inside of containers. You can use whatever editors you'd like, because there's a great command line interface that you can use. We've done .NET coding here on Linux on this stream. We've had a great time doing that. Maybe we need to do a little bit of that in July. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But why are people saying that it's the worst thing? Help me out with that. Why are folks saying it's the worst thing? Give me a little bit of feedback on that, because I'm curious what they mean by it's the worst thing. That's yeah. Here's the thing. The Microsoft folks that are building and delivering features on Azure, features for M365, features for Xbox, when you go online and use Xbox, features for Bing, they're writing code and delivering it to run in containers, to run on Linux systems, to run in the cloud, to scale with Kubernetes. They're doing these things with C# that run very, very fast and run those production applications that you probably use every day. ChatGPT runs behind a series of C# and ASP.NET services. That's well documented and out there. So every time you see a release for .NET, there's big new performance improvements in there, not just for you, but to reduce the cost of goods sold for us, for the Microsoft folks. If it takes you 100 servers to manage and run, let's say Bing, if it takes you 100 servers to run that, and you can improve the performance of the application by 20%, and you can run it with now 80 servers, you just save 20% of how much it costs to run that application. That's awesome. That's a great thing. So I'm not quite sure why folks would say it's the worst thing. I'd be interested in hearing a follow-up on that. Do I want some container news? Sure. Pass along. What do you have for container news? Alu the Dragon. Why do we need to know how to reverse a string by hand when I could just do string.reverse? Exactly. It's already optimized. It's already out there. It already does a thing. The reverse a string by hand, that is gone. Yeah. So, wait and see. So catching up here. Hey, good morning. This is the real voice. Hello, this is the real voice. How's it going over there? You remember doing this kind of stuff in high school? Exactly, Hamza. Yes. Jory says, I'm very good at Roslyn's source gen and wrote YAML 1.1, but I couldn't tell you how a single tag of HTML works. And that's okay. Jory, that's okay. Where is it? It's rolled off. Because if you were interviewing for a job where you were working with YAML, you were working with Roslyn source, you know your stuff. If you're interviewing to work as a web developer at a .com company who was building and delivering a multi-tenant web application, you better know your web. If you're interviewing for a web developer role, you better know your web. Like when we put in the requirements, the job requirements, knows HTML, you better know your web. So, yeah, it's a practical request. That's right, Napalm. Yep. Cloudflare containers are now public beta. Oh, that's nice. The field keyword in C# 14 is awesome. There's a handful of features coming in C# 14 that folks are going to think are awesome. Yes, and now in .NET 10. What I think is really gonna start lighting folks up with .NET 10 are how the framework, the language is so much simpler, easier, and smaller to use. That's really going to light some folks up and get them interested here. Via Sanctus with a question here. Isn't it the same about using libraries? The less we have to reinvent, the better. If AI can do something you would be able to do, but faster, but you still need to engineer what you're building, the creative process will always be human. You're stepping into several places there that I think are interesting discussions. So the more that we use libraries, yeah, there's different things that we can leverage and use and bring AI capabilities, the AI code generation capabilities in to get us to our solution faster, instead of having AI generate the same code again and again and again and again. But if we're getting AI to generate and do some more cool things, I want to get AI generating more templates for .NET. I want to get the AI generating more templates that more folks can use. The .NET team has done a lot to make the templating ecosystem something that folks can contribute to, and we haven't seen very many contributions. So what can we do to make it easier, more appealing for folks to produce and submit templates out there for more folks to use, right? A lot of folks like to use Tailwind with Blazor. Fantastic. Let's generate some Tailwind Blazor templates. Let's do that with AI, put them out there so that you're already 3 steps down the road with the libraries, with the templates, and the AI to where you want to go. Stuff like that I think we can start jumping ahead on by using libraries with some templates and AI so that we're reinventing fewer things. I'm way on board with you via Sanctus. Yeah. Some areas just don't have the stuff you use in web, and Rosalind SourceGen has a high focus on equatable and tests. Yeah, totally understood, Jory. Here's the thing. A lot of folks that write web frameworks don't know how to write websites. Folks that invent and work on programming languages don't know how to write websites. Folks that write websites don't know how to write features for Roslyn or source generators. So it goes both ways. We have specializations that we as developers have gravitated towards that make us happy, right? That feed our soul, and that's good. I don't think that that's a knock against folks, but somebody who's a web developer going to apply to work at a company that builds and makes database software, like for me as a web developer to apply to be an engineer to work on Oracle database, it isn't a good match. My specialization would be good on working on web UI front ends that support management of that Oracle database. And if I was applying for that type of job, I'd be a better fit than an engineer that's working on index optimization and modernization. So there's different sides of the technical community, and that's good. That's a great thing. Linux doesn't have VS Community. It has Visual Studio Code. So And more folks use Visual Studio Code than any other code editor out there. So, a lot of ego. You're right, Saigama. Visual Studio Code in Linux. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code today. Visual Studio Code on Linux, on Mac OS is fantastic. And need to make updating .NET templates a more discoverable process. You're right, Codebase Alpha. You're right. Let me take a note on that. You're right. You are absolutely right. And I know just the person to talk to about that. Just Roma God says, if I interview them for a .NET job, how do I know if you interview me and not ChatGPT? I don't. And quite frankly, anybody who's interviewing anybody doesn't know if they're interviewing the AI or they're interviewing a person. Yeah. Online, yeah, we don't know that. That's the importance of the in-person interview. Being able to look somebody face to face, talk to them, and figure out exactly how much, not just how much they know, but what kind of a fit they would be in your culture. Let me go back to the full screen so you can see the map as things are rolling by here. VS Code doesn't insert parentheses automatically on method completion. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I've been using it live on stream here for the last month and a half. It does. VS Code isn't adequate for you on the Mac. Writer is what you want. That's fine. You're welcome to use that. But nothing wrong with that. But we think VS Code is a great experience for folks. Maybe instead of creating templates, we should be thinking about creating a prompt. So, Marcus, I think there's there's a middle ground there that we should consider. And I said this during a .NET team meeting yesterday. The industry is over pivoting on placing chat text boxes on user interfaces instead of building proper user interfaces to interact with things. And I go back to the example of the Azure portal, where you look at where you used to look at, here's the services that are running that I'm paying for on my subscription, has been replaced with a text box. Why don't you ask me the questions about what you'd like to know about what's running on Azure? No, show me the table of the services. Show me my receipt of what you're charging me for. Like, that's what I want to see, the receipt. Don't ask me to ask you questions about it. Show me the receipt, and then, do you have any questions about what's on here? Do you want to dig in and learn a little bit more about things? That makes sense. But removing user interface so we can put another text box there, I think is over pivoting on the AI capabilities. The AI features are great. There's lots of great things that you can do with it and get insights on it, and that's amazing. But it is possible to over pivot on these things. And we're seeing that in many places in the industry. Dr. Cox asks, hey, what's the topic for today? Hopefully more manual coding and less vibe coding. Agreed. So I had been working on the Copilot.John website. I asked the AI to generate a bunch of features for updating and allowing images to be hosted and delivered out there. it generated a bunch of code. I need to go back, tweak and tune it, and finish getting that deployed. So it will be a lot more manual coding on that because I've already done the AI pass. We'll do some correction and get that rolled out. So I think I think that'll be good. And I also want to add some more features to Charlie. I'll try and get the AI to generate a bit of that and then come back and tune. And I think that's the pattern that we're going to see more developers use in the industry going forward. There we go, getting some folks to drop some more pins on the map there. Napalm says, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there are things DevKit lacks that Visual Studio provides, and frankly, code will never be parity. There, it's an economy car versus a sports car. Yes, I wouldn't say economy car versus sports car. I would say it's an economy car that folks with if VS Code is an economy car, and it's also open for tweaking, and there are folks that have done all kinds of things to that economy car, putting on bigger engines, putting spoilers on the back, putting nitrous in it, putting on a new paint job, racing stripes, all kinds of stuff that you can tweak and tune and put onto that economy car that is VS Code. Everybody can get it. It's really accessible, and you can tweak and put all kinds of things on it. And Visual Studio is that diesel F450 truck that can haul a ton and has just a massive amount of power on it. It can speed around town when it needs to, but you can also hook up a trailer to it, tow things around, load it up with all kinds of material in the back, and haul things around on it. And as a utility vehicle, it's already built out and can do all the things. You're going to pay a lot more for that F450 diesel truck, and it takes a different type of fuel. But it's already got all that stuff in it, and it's a great utility vehicle that's gonna do work for you. That economy car that you can trick out and customize however you want, that's great too for folks that enjoy that kind of thing. So there's different tools for different folks. So you don't know why, but you can't use VS Code? Really? Agent to agent features, you're going to see that coming to many editors and even outside of editors. Weird Beard Dev, how you doing in Virginia Beach? Look at that. Virginia Beach there, the Weird Beard Dev. Cool. Who's out in Los Angeles? I'm not going to scroll through that one. Middle Earth, yeah, here we go with some of the folks trying to trick up the locations here. You think investing to locally run a full version of LLM like DeepSeek could be highly efficient? If not, self-hosting using AI vendor servers on big dev projects may lead to bad OPSEC results. Langston, I think you're touching on on an excellent point that I've been circling around and thinking about over the last few days. Running a full LLM locally or in your data center, it means you're gonna go get a couple GPUs. You're gonna pay money to get that horsepower to run locally. Downloading and running the LLM locally, you can do with tools like Ollama and Foundry. They're out there that help you run those models locally. They're big. You're not going to run it on your little Synology server that has 8 gig of RAM and running with an Intel Celeron processor. It's just not going to work like that. You need the horsepower to drive processing all of that. So I think we're going to see this economic pivot. That's going to be a pendulum that's going to swing back and forth, where we're going to have folks that want to do so many things with AI, and they're going to use the online services, the Azure endpoints, the Google Gemini endpoints, the Amazon endpoints, to go and run things on an AI service out there, and they're going to be so over pivoted on doing those things that the economies of using tokens they're going to burn through them so quickly, and those AI service bills are going to slowly creep up to a point where eventually somebody in finance is going to go, why are we paying so much for this? And to your point, let's bring those services in-house because we can buy the horsepower to run those things in-house. And then there's going to be that retweaking of running everything in-house, but because now you're running it in-house, you're not getting the advantage of folks deploying and running and updating those models automatically for you on those services out on Azure, GCP, AWS. So we're then going to see a pendulum swing back where folks who paid for a $250,000 of hardware to run LLMs in their own private data center are going to swing back and, oh, we want to put this stuff back on the cloud because there's an economy of scale there. And there'll be pricing wars that happen as services grow, as services modernize, as language models mature, and folks begin building and customizing their own language models. And so they don't have to rag into all their requests the background information that they want. So I think there's a pendulum that's going to happen there, where there are smaller models that are going to be really efficient to run locally with new hardware, NPUs running on your local hardware. Yes, but you're not going to do a full LLM that's generating code from a language model running locally. It'll run on the Intel 3 laptop that has the company's Active Directory and passwords and gets cooled by a random fan in the corner. Yeah, and right, it's a random fan in the corner that has that has water going through it, so it's nice and cool. Yeah. So, how you doing there, McNets? So I think there's a lot that we're going to see change and adapt and grow with the AI tools, with the AI economy, and we've seen the pivot back and forth on client server technologies for the last 25 years. Everything was on the big server in 1992. Everything was on the big mainframe, and you had a very thin client running a 3270 terminal, right? And then pivot happened, client server technologies. Okay, the server was just running a database, and you ran most of the application with VB or Delphi or Power Builder, something running locally that you use to rapidly build that application to connect and use those server facilities. Pivot back, bigger server running a website, and very thin, you're just using a browser to browse and use those applications. And I think we saw a little bit of a pivot back with mobile applications, tablet applications, but we're still seeing that balance out. And we're about to see a further pivot back harder on big servers running AI. And as the local hardware, the commodity hardware that you can have in your laptop and your desktop ramps back up, having an NPU, having a GPU in there that's able to take advantage and do more AI processing locally is going to be that next pivot. It's going to take time to get there, because and quite frankly, the amount of power that all of those local machines are going to use, the amount of heat that they're going to kick off is going to be a wake up lesson for folks in offices. The amount of heat that a good GPU throws off, oh baby, there's going to be a wake up that happens for some of those folks in offices that think, oh well, I'll just run it locally. Sure, you can run it locally. Hope you can run that air conditioner a little bit better, and you can turn off the heat in the winter because it'll be nice and toasty under your desk. Hey, Nalian, you have an AMD Strix for your local LLMs? Yeah, the office warmer now. Yeah. So, there's definitely there's definitely something to be said about that pendulum back and forth. And we're going to see the growth of the AI services, and we'll see the pendulum swing probably at least another year or two, and folks running some things locally. The Windows team wants you to be able to run things locally with Foundry. Sure. We'll see. We will see what happens. So, I've been building this website, and I will close out the map for now. I've been building this website called Copilot.John that gives you a bunch of tips about how to use Copilot better in your day-to-day work. How can you be more productive using Copilot? And I've been putting articles up here every couple days. I need to write a new one to put up here. And the one thing that I didn't really do for this website is I didn't set it up to host images. And I need to figure that out, and I need to update so that it can host images. So I generated a bunch of code using Copilot that should start loading images into Azure Blob Storage, and then update the links inside of the Markdown so that they're presenting a appropriate relative link to where that Azure Blob Storage is, and render and present that content. Continuing on that discussion, Langton's Entropy on YouTube. I'll come back to the end then in a second. Langton says, I read someone's local DeepSeek hardware price list. They added it up and it was $40K American dollars. DeepSeek is open source and powerful, but if you look at your traffic with Wireshark, not very privacy focused. Yes. And quite frankly, in studying DeepSeek, they trained DeepSeek on another model. So that's like copying a copy, right? You start to lose resolution. Things start to get fuzzy when you copy a copy. So is it, to your point, it's got privacy issues, but it's also, do you really want to spend $40,000 to run that locally? And then the next model comes out in 3 months, and are you going to download and run that? Well, you could still be running Wireshark. Now they're going to cut the cost. I'm sorry, not Wireshark. They're still going to be running DeepSeek out there on the cloud, and the cost is going to go down on that. So you can still use the same model, but the cost goes down. So there's economies that happen. You still put $40,000 into that hardware, and that hardware is becoming obsolete as each month goes by, and as new AI models and features come out. So what are you going to do? Is your hardware going to support those new models and features in 3 months, 6 months, a year? Yes, but there's going to come a point where the answer is no, and you're going to end up either buying new hardware or going back into a publicly hosted service. A lot of folks that I worked with in the before days would lease hardware for their data centers. So they ran the same operating systems, the same hardware for a year. And at the end of that year, they would trade in the servers, bring in brand new servers with more memory, more processor, for the exact same lease agreement, and they just got automatic hardware upgrades. You get that by being in the cloud, and you don't have to manage that hardware and that delivery. But if that offline access is something you require, then you're going to want to do that. Stam, how you doing there? Welcome. Appreciate the follow there on Twitch. Copilot seems useless compared to standard Windows installed Copilot. No, dude. No. Saying Copilot seems useless is completely missing it. And you'll see how I'm going to use it here. Yeah, agent mode is really good. Have I ever seen the Windows 11 source code? No. Robson with a question here. Have I ever seen the Windows 11 source code? No. There are there are security requirements to interact with different products at Microsoft. Just to get hired, you need to pass a background check. But when you work with different products, there are different security requirements and there are different things that you're allowed access to. I'm not going to go into all of the security configuration, but you do need to have certain security access granted to you to be able to see the source code of different products, and I do not have that access. Jay with a question here. When's Microsoft bringing Clippy back? I don't think it's going to happen. It's something that we, the developers, the folks in marketing, we like to have a mascot, something to rally around, like Clippy. You saw this with the Ninja Cat, and it's something that we would love to do. I think Cortana is right to come back now with how we talk to AI and interact with AI. I don't think this is happening anytime soon, but it would be a magnificent idea to do. Let me see here. Yeah, it is the original Microsoft Copilot. You're right, the bog rat. You just tried the 30-day trial and tried to get answers for my code by giving it context, but just telling Companion the Git URL was simpler as it directly accessed it and understood the entire thing. I'll show you. You'll see this in a little bit. Yeah, CPU and GPU will get nice and toasty. I've done a lot of work with Copilot for this website. And you can see here. I actually had it write content for some of the tips here, and it writes Markdown for me. Generate a new tip that talks about how you can use Copilot to help manage project tasks, generate burn down charts, and create Gantt charts. And it generated Markdown for me, formatted all the code blocks, talks about here's the tips for it. And I wrote back and said, can you add some pro tips at the end about helpful automations or form controls that can be added? And it went and did that. Now, this is generating Markdown, and no problem there. The trick to working with Copilot is the Copilot instructions file. And other AI tools have similar configuration that you can feed in. Let me tell that to go ahead and restart. There you go. Similar instruction sets that you can feed in as your system prompt to describe and set, here's the information about the project. And this, right, sets the table. Quite frankly, I generated this file. I told it, go analyze what's in my code base and generate a series of recommendations for it. And I read through and I tuned and removed and updated some of the capabilities in here. And then when I make further requests and interactions with the source code, it comes up really nice. So here's the thing. Folks that are giving you AI tools for free now, how do you think they're paying for the tokens that you're using to interact with it? Because those tokens cost money. How do you think they're paying for that? Do you think your code's private? Do you think they're not going to charge you something at some point? AI tools are extremely expensive when you start to use them at scale. When you put more information into them and you start using more and more tokens. Anybody who's giving you a free tool now, they're either capturing and using your data and you have zero privacy using those tools. or they're getting ready to, they're testing out how much folks like that thing, and then they're going to charge you for it. Cursor was free to a point, and if you want to use it seriously, you have to pay for it because the tokens cost a lot of money. C# Titan has a question for us. When I provide a thumbs up for the work that Copilot did, let me bring that back up there. And you can see I provided a thumbs up. What did the team do with that information? It helps to affirm that the model responded properly to that question. So, right, they're using it to help further tune the models and the way that they interact with the base model, so that they can improve the responses and the interactions. When you give it a thumbs down, in the aggregate, they're able then to continue to tune and refine to give you better results. There was a point at the beginning of May where Copilot was giving some dreadful results. And they rolled out updates to the Copilot service, and it literally got 100% better. And they're rolling out updates to the service all the time. As they're rolling out those updates, it takes into account all the input that we give it, thumbs ups, thumbs downs. That feedback then helps to improve the engine for us in the future. So that's all very good things that are going to help us. Jory with a question here. Are the AI tools private when I pay for it? Depends on the tool you're using. For GitHub Copilot, for Microsoft Copilot for 365, yes, they are private to you when you pay for it. There are the feedback items that you share, they're anonymized and it's still private to you. Where is it? There is a GitHub Copilot trust document. There we go. GitHub Copilot Trust Center. And they talk about exactly how things are used. And when you do buy the enterprise version of Copilot, you can keep things not just private to you, but private to your enterprise, so that things that it learned about the way that your enterprise does things stays to your enterprise. And there's information that you can dig into here and see and learn more about. And they're very explicit with Copilot about testing and certifications that have been received, audits that GitHub Copilot has gone through, and information about what you can trust that is being delivered by Copilot. I'm going to go back to the front page here, and I'll link that for you in chat. So if you want to learn more, you can click through to github.com/trust-center. Cool. And McNets with a question here. Is there a thumbs up, down button? Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. So was this helpful? Was this unhelpful? And when you click thumbs down, it asks for a follow-up why you clicked thumbs down. And that response helps feed into more training data for the model. So, Clippy was one of the best things from your childhood? Yeah. Yeah. If the tool is free, then you are the product. Can you click both at the same time? No. Nope. So, your code is all MIT and public on GitHub anyway. Great. If your code is public on GitHub, then it is available for consideration to be used in Copilot. So, yeah, how do you click two things at the same time? Audits do give you a really good indicator that they're using that code properly. And politely for the larger community. So I wanted to dig in here and look at, and this is in a separate branch called content images. And you can start to see some of it here, how this is formatting image URLs that it's sharing. And I had it generate. I shouldn't take full credit for this. Yeah. Where's it? Content. So there's an images folder here. And where is it? Here we are. So I had it generate this document. I don't want it writing into this images folder. Get rid of that one. So there, inside the tips folder, I have images. And the idea being all of the images will be saved over here that are used inside the markdown. This way I can do previews here and actually see here's what it should look like. But when I get to publishing and putting this into production, this URL, I want it to turn that into a link to that will be used properly to access Azure Blob Storage. That way I'm not deploying files out to a container somewhere and sitting on disk. Upload it to Blob Storage and there it goes. So that's this rewriting here. So there's two parts. There's upload these images to Blob Storage, and I have that working properly. And the other side is get this reformatting properly inside the markdown when it's output. Guillermo with a question here. Your data can be private, but can they use it to retrain new models? When you provide feedback, that feedback is used to retrain the model. When you use enterprise or you pay for a private instance, your data is entirely private to you, and they don't use it to train models, or they use it to augment your specific model for your enterprise. All the information is there on the Trust Center. I'm probably not doing a great job explaining it, but that link you can click into and it explains how they use the various data points that they work with. Codebase Alpha with a question here. I see you have an infra folder in your project. I do. Yes. I assume you ran InfraSynth. Any reason to do that, as I have a Spirified Copilot that John? Yes, because I'm using custom domain name with this. I tried setting up the custom domain name inside AppHost, and it just did not work for me. I probably misunderstood the documentation. So I did do the Copilot InfraSynth so that I could get, that's the wrong one. I believe it's in AppHost, Infra, yeah. So that I could get the custom domains in here easily and have it manage and present those. And I've got that direct touch on here's exactly the values that it's uploading. So I'm okay with that. And all of the secrets that go with what it's deploying, they're all sitting out there as GitHub pipeline secrets and entries in Key Vault. So I'm okay with all of that. All right. Someone wrote, if a product is free, you are the product. Yes. You think no? Really? Not if you air gap. No. You're still missing it. No. Not if you're building a personal data privacy cyber bunker in your home. Well, if you're building and managing your own data locally for your applications, then you're not using somebody's service for free. It's when you use a free service online. Folks are are observing how you're using it and using that to improve the service, or they're putting advertising somewhere around it. They're getting paid somewhere around it. So continuing, let me dive in here and we'll clean up a little bit of what's going on with this application that's running locally. So I can actually, let me start that up here and we'll go through and tweak and tune and interact with it. So it's in my app host folder, and this is Aspirified. So I can .NET watch, and we'll be able to watch it launch and run. While that's getting things started over there, let me break out the gunners here, get them on my face. These are the Pinnacles. These are new glasses. They just released last week. They've got a nice wide lens here. We go in a little bit closer. Nice wide lens. They curve a little bit around, and they are real close to the top of your head here, so they create that little microclimate around your eyes, so that keeps a little bit of humidity in there, so your eyes stay moist. You don't blink as much when you're staring at screens. That's a known fact in how folks use computers. So keeping a little bit of humidity near your eyes because of the shape of the glasses is a big help to keep your eyes healthy. And of course, the yellow cuts out that blue light coming from the displays. So, all right, let me dive back in here. Here's the resources right there. There we go. And you see I have a Redis instance out here that you don't see because it's not here on screen. My bad. There you go. So there's the Aspire dashboard, and here is the app running locally, and it didn't load any data. I need to reload data. Fine. So let's reload. Let's reload some data. I'll split the terminal. Go over here. And I do have that. What is it? Upload or publish? No, that's not it. No. Yeah, upload content. And this will upload and put content into the test data storage that I have here locally. There we go. Back over here, onto this one, reload, and there's my content. I'm going to go to the visualization tip. No, I want all the tips so I can search. Right, it's like visualization, something like that. Yeah, here you go. And you see the image links are broken. So we're going to go fix that. This is where we're going. And when you look at the link that it's creating, right? It's going to 127.001.27.001, which is the address for my blob storage. I don't want it going there. I want it going to my website, and I will relay that request to the blob storage. So that's the update that I'm going to put in here. Chris Funk has a question. What is the best practice these days for back office processes? Historically, I used a console app. Back office processes, you can use a console app. You can build a console app that turns into a background service that can be installed or run as a service daemon. That way it's running as a background service, and you can manage it with all the background service management tools that you do have as a system administrator. But I actually like the idea, pivoting, going back, of build a console app and install and run it as a container. Then you can use all of your container management features to run and manage that service. And if you want to run multiple copies, go ahead and start 5 copies of that container, and they'll all run side by side. So if you have a queue that has a lot of content that needs processing, and your one background process isn't running it fast enough, start another container and let them run in parallel, pulling messages off that queue. Go for it. Yep, there you go. Jorik actually says that it was going right in the same direction. Pack it as a Docker file, run it in a container environment. Management gets drastically easier. If you remember, we built a service to transcribe Twitch clips. I had it running on a series of 6 Raspberry Pis, and I was running 8 instances of that transcription service at the same time on little Raspberry Pis. So, and they were just Docker containers that were running on K3s, running on the smaller Kubernetes that runs on Raspberry Pis, and it was distributing and managing that load across. There was one primary Raspberry Pi and then 5 secondary ones that were doing the work, and those secondary ones were processing and delivering output directly for the website. It was downloading things out of a service bus queue that was out on Azure, download the information, process it, send a message back on the service bus, and to save the data. No data persistence on the servers was happening on those Raspberry Pis. It was strictly working with the service bus. Fantastic. Really great stuff. Minikube is a 4-minute setup, and you could just go. Setting up OpenShift takes longer, but for trial, yeah. ClipTalk was always on the leading edge. It was, and we're gonna get there with not this website, but another one that I'm working on. MyTag. MyTag is going to land in July. It's looking better, and we've got some validation and some folks that are interested in helping with that. So keep an eye out. MyTag is going to land in July. No need to sell your soul on a small thing to run in the background. Totally agree. Another option is just Podman and use Quadlet to create a system D to manage the lifecycle. Sure. But the configuration is basically the same. Build a container and deploy and manage instances of that container. Sure. You want to go bigger than Pi? Okay. I've seen folks that say they had a Raspberry Pi cluster and they would use an old laptop as the primary, or they would use the Raspberry Pi cluster, and they would also run Kubernetes on the old laptop and on the Raspberry Pi cluster, so that you had nodes for the laptop and the Pi cluster, and it would distribute and load balance across them. So great options to manage and make use of old hardware as well, right? I mean, think about it. If you've got a handful of old laptops at your company that have 8 gig of RAM and a decent Intel i5 processor, set them up, run Kubernetes on them, and deploy background processes to that. You're not paying anything extra to run those things. Running Kubernetes on those with some background processing jobs, or distribute a web application across them. That's all you need for a small intranet application. So, yeah, some sort of container orchestration tool. Jorik is right. Helps make that service, that application, something that you can manage by just pushing around a configuration file. So, virtual machines on the same box? Okay. VMs are more difficult to run, but if you want to run VMs to host different sets of nodes, which is what all the clouds do. Cool. Hey, that'll work. Ads are about to start on Twitch in 4.5 minutes. Yes, VMs do drift apart. Yep. So, I need to fix this little bit of rewriting that it's doing of those addresses. And if we look at, let me start the Azure Storage Explorer. No. No. It was storage, Azure Storage Explorer. Yeah, start that. Let's go. I can peek into the running version here. The version will be out of support in... Okay. Update me. There is no update available. Whatever. All right, so here's the local version that I was working on. Yeah, and I can't pin that. Annoying. So if we look at the tables and we look at the content, and I specifically look for that visualization article, right? That's all my content that's loaded here locally. Yeah, right here. So the markdown for it is actually saved. You see it right here in the content field. Right? There it is right there. So that image that was saved... Excuse me. Slash images slash a hash slash original. So that looks right. If I go up here, it's under content images. Well, and there's the hash for that image and original.png. So we lost the extension when it loaded the content. Okay. So let's put together a little list of what we need to fix here. Lost file extension in the markdown update before storage. The translation of the image location in the final HTML. There we go. Is not. It includes the full URL to the blob storage. What else did we see about that? Yeah, we want to get rid of all that. This should go to some API locally in the web app that will fetch and present that content. Yeah, I think that's what we want to do. So let me start with the first one, losing the file extension. Running Raspberry Pis on a reversed ESP32 virtual Wi-Fi on a remote server just for fun. Yeah, that is. Even runs Zephyr kernel. Nice. And that was a bit of what I was running here in my home office. Had that Raspberry Pis. They weren't on Wi-Fi, but I had them wired directly in to the network, and they were pretty cool. But having them run with Wi-Fi and register on the network and be able to kind of stick them somewhere is a fantastic thing. I want to do that. I want to do that in my camper. I want to put a Raspberry Pi and mount it on the backside of the TV in my camper, and mount a external hard drive there, a USB hard drive, loaded up with all kinds of movies and photo album stuff, and turn that Raspberry Pi into a little entertainment center that interacts and presents stuff on screen. So I think that would be a fun little project to do, and a way for us to make the content that we show on the TV in our camper a little bit more personalized, and not just, hey, what's on the Wi-Fi at the campground that we're at, or we or we connected to the Wi-Fi from our phone or something and went out to Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever service. All right, so let me start with the, right, this bit in here. Where to go? Visualize this one. Let me start with figuring out, and see, it put the images in here. Like, that's what the uploader did. But I need to get the file extension on that thing. Ads are running on Twitch. We'll be back in 2 minutes. If you're watching on YouTube, no ads. Big thanks to the folks that are watching on YouTube right now. I can see we've got a little more than a dozen folks watching on YouTube. Thanks so much. Appreciate you over there. So let me take a look at my upload process. So I wrote a little command line tool that does the upload of that content, and it synchronizes the content out on the bot, out on the Azure storage. So when it goes through, yeah, right there, it doesn't put the file extension. I lose the file extension here. And does the file extension have the dot on it? I don't think it does. Image dot. Well, file name is, yeah, it's a string. So, all right, let's turn this into path dot, right? I can do path dot, yeah, get extension. There you go. And if it does return a dot, that's fine. Trim it off, because we're going to put one in front of there anyway. So that should have helped with this. Let me delete this record so I can get it to reload it. All right, yes, delete that entity. And I'll rerun my, see, you can see, one failed, really, one failed. Recompiling, rerunning, processing the images. So one failed, one added. I'm curious about that one that failed. Error uploading. Front matter not found in Markdown. Copilot Project Management MD. Oh, you know why? Yeah. Yeah. You, go away. Alright, so now let's see if we got it right up here. There's visualized data with Copilot. Make sure that, there we go. Images all the way down to /original PNG, and it put the, no, we need to get rid of that, because I want it to include the tooltip. Yeah. Right? We get tooltips on that stuff? Where's the test one? This one. Right, so I mouse over it and I get the tooltip. So delete that one more time and rebuild and redeploy, and we should see it. Yep, delete that record. I could wipe the whole thing. Re-upload the content and we should see it. Cool. One new record added, so we should see it. There it is. I'll catch up on chat in just a minute. Take a look at that. There we go. All right, that's formatted properly. In chat, Regathian says, I'd consider keeping the hard drive connected to the Pi wirelessly. That way you don't need to have a cable hanging down from the TV. Oh, I was going to use double-sided tape and stick them to the back of the TV so that there is a cable right there behind the TV just going from one to the other. I don't... Yeah, I was going to use just an external USB drive to plug stuff in. Hey, Soft as in Software, how you doing there? Hello. It's a cool idea. I can't remember the vendor names, but there are some really good touchscreens to connect on Raspberry. Yes, I have one. And I use it for demos, showing how you can use Raspberry Pi to do a bunch of different things. And what I think I'm see now. Then there's the idea of, well, instead I could mount the Raspberry Pi with the touchscreen underneath the TV in the cabinet under the TV, and that's actually sitting just above our dinette. And that touchscreen can swing down, and then you can touch the touchscreen instructed to do stuff and display on the TV. There's different ways to do this. Regathian says having the hard drive removable is nice if you want to fill it fast, though. You're right. You're right. Choices. Okay, this works. So now, if I go back and reload, I'm going to need to restart the website. Because it loads all the articles into memory. Really? There's restart. So that'll restart, reload the content into memory, and over here. Okay, let's see what that image URL looks like now. So it still is... Okay, so now we have the formatting of this. The content that's in the markdown in the database, right? That's correct, but the rewrite that it's doing here... So now let me go work on that bit. So I know those two things work. I'm not in there yet. Hang on. This one, the image URL rewriter. Yeah, here's where it's writing the image link. So what Copilot built is it extended the markdown pipeline, and it added its own extension, its own way to modify the HTML rendering. And you can see I used Claude, and it formatted this like a kindergartner with ugly crayons. So it's doing this rewrite of it. So it's writing the link, enable HTML for inline, absolute URL, the link URL. You have to go to school. Have a good one there, Langtons. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Get the image ID. First check if it's already in our format. And what does extract image ID do? Splits and it gets the first part. Let's grab that content for that first image. So we can kind of have this in the background here. All right. So it's going to split it if on the slash if parts length is greater than 2, yes. and the first part is images, then it's going to return parts 1. It's going to return that hash. Okay. Seems like I need a unit test here. I think you're onto something. I do. I think you're onto something. Link.title. Where... So that's coming off of that. How does that look? With all that... Yeah. Ooh. I think I want to do an HTML unescape on that. Right? Yeah. Where did it go? That's okay. We'll come back to that. Write escaped URL. No. For the title, no. And I will say write escaped. So that'll hot reload and we should be able to... No. It's already escaped. We don't need to escape it again. So if I just turn this into write... Let me restart. Just to be sure. No. Did you hunt reload? Restart the whole thing. Let's go. Back over here. So, can we write? Is there an unescape? Yeah, No. All right. So what if we do that and what is it? It's like HTTP utility URL decode. It's HTML decode. No, URL decode. Right? Yeah, go ahead, complete that. That's fine. I don't think you patched that like you think you did. And reload. Hey, Mythin, how you doing there? I could generate a unit test for this. You're right. So we could really take a look at that. Let me let Copilot generate a unit test for me. Generate a unit test project to go next to this. All right. And we're going to put you over here. Come on. Generate a new unit test project and add it to this solution. The unit test project should use XUnit and add a reference to the web project. Period. Let's get it doing that first, and then I'll tell it to generate the unit test for this. Jefferson, how you doing there in Brazil? Hello, that should be popping up on our map. There it is. I see you there on on the map. While this is working, I'll bring up the map. I'll bring up the test map. So we can see where folks have shared that they're watching from. There you go. There's the test map. We can see Jefferson just clocked in there, watching on YouTube with Red Hat and appearing in Brazil. Thanks so much. So we got 2 folks watching in Brazil, a couple folks watching in the States. We've got a friend watching in South Africa. It looks like somebody in Australia, and a bunch of folks watching in Europe. Thank you so much. So I'm going to clean up this page. This is my test page, but I'm going to clean up this page so that we get a larger map and we can see a little bit more. If you want to share your location and you'd like it pinned on it, the bot looks for folks saying things like "I'm from," "hello from," "good morning," "good afternoon from," and it will use that to create and place a location for you there. You see Jefferson wrote "hi from Brazil," and it placed a pin appropriately. So the bot does look for that specific message formatting to decide what to pin there. There you go. No diff placed in Edmonton. We got a purple hat there. Exceldro is watching from the Netherlands. Sure, we can zoom in there. You can see some of our European friends watching. There we go. Now we're zooming up. We got somebody watching from Winnipeg. There you go. So, yeah, I've been testing and growing this part of Charlie, my new chatbot. I'll run exclamation Charlie in Twitch chat, and you'll see the message come back over on YouTube also. Charlie is our helpful AI for real-time live interaction and engagement. Look at that. We got some folks in France, in Poland. There we go. We got a YouTube friend from Poland. So YouTube folks show up with a red hat. Twitch folks show up with a purple hat. Twitch folks that are subscribers get the rainbow hat. And our moderators show up with their little sword. And I have the C# icon as well. So there you go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing. There's a further question here of, should I save off the resultant screenshot of the map at the end of a stream to share, hey, look where our community is watching from today? That's something that that I could do. Robson with a question here. Do I intend to make pin clustering when there are too many hats on the same location? That's not a bad idea. I haven't had that problem yet, but I think that's absolutely something we can do. When too many hats in the same area. Yeah, I think that's definitely something we can do, and we can add that out there. And remember, the question feature here, these turn into links that appear now in Discord, so you can jump right to that question from our live Q&A forum when you watch afterwards. So if there's questions that were asked on stream and you want to go back and remember what was I talking about, if it appeared in the lower third because you asked a question or you mentioned my name, it will appear automatically in the Discord in the live Q&A channel. We're definitely not playing Risk. That's great, Marcus. Might be interesting if I accumulate a whole week. That's not a bad idea. I don't think we had the viewer volume for that yet, but as the number of folks grow that participate in our little map bit here, and none of your personal information is stored with the map. All that it is storing in memory when the bot is running, it does remember your name because it won't plot another location again. But that's the same thing that you shared in chat. But all of that stuff is deleted when the bot is closed out. And even then, these are just hats in locations. There's no privacy information there, really. It would be a good problem to have. You're right, Donkarath. Maybe not the map, but perhaps a statistics page that accumulates from each stream. That's not bad. That's not a bad idea. Accumulate some geographic statistics from the map at the end of each stream. I like that. There's definitely something there. And nobody's required to say their location, right? That's the other thing that I've done here. I'm not looking at your IP address. I'm not looking at anything about your connection to YouTube or Twitch. If you do decide to share a location with us, I will plot that location. I don't even know if it's the right location that you're sharing. I'm not validating that, but if you do decide to share your location, happy to share that information with our friends on the map here, so that we can definitely share and know that, you know what, there's a great group of folks that are watching in Europe right now. And Lisbon, I'll be in Lisbon in October. And I know we have some friends that watch in the Middle East and Africa, and that's fine. You know, a couple folks watching from Brazil and folks in the States and Canada. Hello from Kuwait City. Didn't pick that up. Actually, I think we already got you, Surly Dev. I think we already got you on a location. Maybe not. I don't see you in the list. So, Middelburg in the Netherlands. That one just popped up there. See, and I've got to do some more formatting here and management of the map so that I can see and handle that better. So it only takes your first location? That's right. Yep. So there is a location command. Moderators can change locations. I can change locations for folks. But I will be evolving that feature. So, yeah, yeah. So that's something else. I don't really use... I have a couple folks that are moderators, and I gave them moderator access more as like a VIP indicator, because we don't really need moderation here on the channel. But as I roll out more interactive features, moderators are going to become important. Hello from Scotland. Yeah, there we go. Right? I know we've had a couple folks say they were in Scotland. There, you got a bunch of folks in the UK. So, I only ever passed through the UK. I haven't actually, like, spent time there. So, user persistence would be interesting if they shared a location previously. That's something, SwiftTracks, that some folks have requested. Like, hey, I hang out here a lot, and I wouldn't mind if you remembered that I'm watching from Scotland. So, then the next time that you come in and you say hello without prompting, then, because you're a regular and you requested it to remember that, we would then plot that location. That's been suggested. I have a couple other features I want to build first before that type of thing, but definitely on the radar. Yeah. So there's also, I have this idea of having this do a tour automatically. Like, you see how I go and I'll zoom in on North America so we can see our friends in Canada and the States. And then I'll drag down here so we can see our friends in South America. And then browse over to Africa and see we've got a friend over here. Scroll up to Europe. I'd like to do that automatically. Set up an animation that will automatically pan through the globe to those various clusters where there are people, so that I could have this, say, on that opening chat screen, showing and kind of animating, hey, look at all the folks that are watching around the world right now. I think that's a lot of fun. So, a tour animation sounds awesome. Yeah. I had a problem getting the JavaScript widget that this uses to properly move and update. It's something that I'll come back to. Hey, Wrecker, you're watching from Canada? I think it plotted that one up there in the Now, is it none of it is on one side and the Yukon is on the other? Is that how that works? I forget how the territories break down in the northern part of Canada there, but it's definitely up in the territories that it plotted that. And that's okay because you just said I'm in Canada, so it places a pin somewhere central to that location. You want it to play Street View for your cycle routes. It will do. It will get as close to a locality as possible. But you could see we've already got a pretty good cluster of folks here in the UK, and I only zoom in 3 clicks. So, like, I don't want to have that ability to zoom in too far, right? Because then it gets kind of creepy, you know. So it's the balance of maintaining privacy for folks and also sharing a general, hey, I'm watching from Oslo, I'm watching from Reykjavik, wherever it might be, and I don't need to know your exact location, but hey, that's fine, you know. Folks sharing just I'm watching from Canada, that's okay too, you know. I don't need to know exactly where. You could say I'm watching from Ontario, and it'll pick that up and it'll place a pin in the middle of Ontario. And if that's the limit of how much you want to share, that's okay. Nothing says you have to. We think it's fun to participate, and you don't have to give us your real location at all. I could tell you, yeah, I'm watching from New York City, even though I'm in the Philadelphia suburbs. So, all right, let me go back over. Let's see what Copilot did for us here. All right, so Copilot did some work for us. It created web.test project in a new tests folder. Hey, look at that. There we go. All right. Added proper references to the web project. Did you? Yep, that looks right. Okay. Set up the correct .NET 9 target framework. Added XUnit, XUnit runner, and mock packages. Organized tests to mirror the application structure. Extensions, services, controllers, pages, components. Yeah, looks like it. Created test files for image URL writer extension. That's where we're going to do some tests here as Codebase Alpha was suggesting. The image service and the images controller. Integrated by adding the test project to the solution file. Set up proper project references. Okay. Added a comprehensive README with instructions for running tests. Look at that. That's nice. Not entirely needed. Not something I asked for, but that's nice. Okay. And documented test organization and best practices. Cool. Gave me some ideas of how to run tests. Implement actual controller tests. Add tests for Razor pages. Set up a test database. We don't really have that. Create mock services. Add integration tests. Configure CI/CD. So set up the CI/CD pipeline to run the tests. Something definitely that we could add. Hey, Dutch Martin, you're watching from Eindhoven. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sure I didn't. In the Netherlands. Look at that. We got a nice cluster popping up there in the Netherlands. So, right, it should have. Yeah, there we go. And that should have navigated. Yeah. Claude went to town on that single prompt. Claude did. Right? So that looks great. What did we get out of this, friend? What do we got here? Yeah, go ahead, keep that. That sounds good. So in my image URL writer extension tests, setup replaces default image renderer. Okay. Render add responsive image classes when rendering image. Okay. Let's run the test. Tell me what you got here. A neighbor, yeah. There you go. Paisley, Scotland. Oh my goodness. There we go. Our UK and Dutch friends building out here. That's great. Can we check the location we've pinned via Twitch command? Not yet. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Let me finish this feature for Copilot.John, and we can go back and add some of that. Claude Sonnet 4 no longer in preview. Yep. Claude Opus 4 no longer in preview as well. But expensive to use Opus 4. Sonnet 4 is at a one-time multiplier. That's okay. And the mini 03 models here, a lot easier to use. The 01 is still expensive. GPT 4.5 is really expensive to use. So, cool to see. And it did not find my tests. It didn't find my tests. Are you kidding? All right, I'll do it myself. Go into my test folder because it wrote that for me, and now .NET test. And run my test. What do we got? Because it's running in the background, it's not going to run those tests. Fine. Yeah, there is no controllers. Yeah. That's not a thing because I don't have controllers in the web project. Yeah, that's here. I'm even going to delete that folder and delete this folder also because that's not a thing. Try it again. Ads are wrapping up here in another 10 seconds. One error here. An expression may not contain a call or invocation that uses optional arguments. What? Oh, it's mocking something. So we need to give it image size original. Gotta try that again. And one test failed. It did not find the alt text, but it did find the title, and even then, that looks lame. Hey, Craig, how you doing there? Okay. And now we can go and iterate on this and make sure it's formatting our URLs correctly. So let's jump over here. No, I don't want alt text. It should have a title, not alt text. There we go. So the title is correct. So I want to check the URL that it generated. That's the piece in here that I really want to get it to look at. So let's ask it to build one for us. Build a test for that, and then we'll go in and fix it. Right. So yeah, open chat, and we'll move you over there. Even then, right? I want to be able to see this next to it. I don't mind vibe coding the unit tests, but going through and fixing this, we'll do ourselves. Add a unit test for this class that examines the URL for the image that was generated. Here we go. The image mock looks a bit off, hard coding the argument that is later passed into the invocation. Well, it's hard coding the get image URL. And even then, that's not the right image URL that it should return. Get image ID by file name. Yeah, these don't look exactly right. So, you're right, Regathian. We're going to need to tweak some of these a little bit. You're taking too long. Go away. Let's look here a little bit. Get image ID with valid ID. So I already had. Here's some sample data of what it looks like. Right? Get image URL. Gets the public URL for an image. See, I want that to have the extension on it for that type. And default isn't right. Oh, it's shut down. It's original. Yeah. And that. So now that I've run the test, do you see that? Hey, there we go. No, this is image service test. Get image URL with valid ID. This one. Run that. That ran properly. Okay, good. But I want it to return the address, the extension also. So where's the image service? Here. So I need it. I don't think. It generated this this idea of image size. Get the public URL for an image, I think, is what I do want, and I don't really need this. But I think I want this to be the saved URL and turn that into the output URL. I think that's all that I want. So I'm going to delete that part of the interface. And I'm going to turn this into... let's call this original image URL. Don't care. Don't care. So I don't think this is used. I don't think I need it anywhere. Yeah, that's the only place that it's referenced. So get rid of that. That's over-engineering. Don't need it. This one makes sense. Yeah, go ahead, change that. So the size, and then right there's the image ID in here. I'm going into the container name, but I want to grab the hash out of that. And it's not a size folder. And there's also an extension on the end of it. So I need to... And CDN endpoint, where the heck did that come from? No, we don't have that. That's not a thing yet. That's overcalculating here. So I don't need that. And I don't need that either. Like, the other side of this is how we're actually going to return. Web optimizer, static files. Yeah, I'm going to end up mapping an image endpoint in here. So get the public URL for an image. Yeah. To be used in the rendered HTML content. So yeah, this isn't a thing. But it is being used in tests. I don't need that. And quite frankly, no, the markdown's okay. So if it is not an absolute URL, extract an image ID, extract the file name. If we do not have a file name, no. I don't need any of this. Don't need that. I'm rewriting the URL. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. I think that's what I want. Let me pause, come back to chat here. Macho9 on Twitch asks, how do you learn to write cleaner and better code? I generally have a problem with this, but especially when I do something new. For example, yesterday I tried to write a scraper that needed to scrape a website that is a big mess of iframes, and my code was an even bigger mess. How do you learn to optimize and organize and write cleaner code? Comes with experience. Write the code. I talk about writing code is 3 steps. Get it working, make it fast, make it pretty. You can swap the order of the other two. And you can make your code prettier, organized better, once you have it working and you understand where there's duplication. Make it faster, make it run faster is something that'll come with exposure to the tools and frameworks. Go through those 3 steps. First step is always make it work. Make it fast, make it pretty. You can swap the order of those depending on your needs, but you'll get there. Using a tool like GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude, what have you, to look at your code and give you suggestions is a great way for you to learn and improve. Felt like it did too much for you? Don't ask it to do things for you then. Ask it to tell you. Like, I don't need this part anymore. Right? 0 references. Fine, get rid of it. Extract file name. Yeah, I don't really need to extract the file name anymore. Get rid of that too. Oh, you. There we go. Right? I don't need those features. Delete them. It wrote too much. It over-engineered. So, you're welcome, Macho9. Best of luck to you. Always happy to talk and answer questions like that and have those kinds of discussions here on stream. Okay, so image service over here. Right? I don't really need get image by file name. Where'd it go? I don't really need that. Right? I need to convert the image URL and with the appropriate. I don't even need the blob client. Right? Where did it get the container name? It's content images. It's hard coded. So I don't need that. But I'm going to take the original image URL that was passed in. Right? Like, let's go back. Hang on. Are we overthinking this? That URL isn't bad. Like, I could use that directly and just have my image service turn that back into, here's how I get the blob client, and then I don't need this image service at all. Let's do that. Where is this used? It's used in the test, image URL writer extension. Where's it writing? I might have removed too much over here. Yeah, keep it simple. I agree. Did I overthink this? I think I did. No, this is at the point that we're taking that address and outputting it. So let's not make it /images whatever. Let's make this like article images, right? Can I use path extension on the blob name to get the file extension? Yes, but I don't need to because the URL that's being passed in is this. So, like, so I think I'm okay to actually get rid of this. Then if I go to my content loader, and it puts it into /images is the address that it puts it in. So, let's call this article-images. Then I can look for anything that comes in on that route, go find a blob for it. Yeah, I like that. Can I use path get extension? Yeah, that is over there. Then I don't need this at all. No, I don't need this at all. Right? And that whole thing gets a heck of a lot simpler. So I don't need this test either. And this goes away because I don't need that. And then I don't have a use for the other file sizes yet. So it's right there for right now. So if I run this, and the tests are probably broken all over the place, right? This, yeah, it's trying to mock image service. So that also means this thing. Yeah, there's no image service that it needs. So I can actually get rid of the constructor altogether. Custom image renderer. This doesn't need a thing in here. We don't need that, which also means then that I don't need this. So that just got a lot easier. Remove that. Those are going to need to be updated, but over here, we don't need that anymore. So now I don't need this. Don't need that. Same with this, John. Get rid of that. Yeah, go ahead, apply. Thank you. Okay. No code is the best code. Yes. So go ahead, try the test now. Those should all work, and there should be less of them. There it is, building down here. Error. Typer namespace name, image service cannot be found. Really? Yep. We don't need that. You're right. Get rid of that. Try this again. Error building, name image service. don't need that. I can just do... just do that. What do we get on that? Right? I don't know. Type assembly name image service. No, over here. Yep, that doesn't exist anymore. Run it again. There we go. Yep, they ran fine. Good. So go back over and rerun this, and then I'll reload blob storage, and then I'll take a look at what it renders, which shouldn't be correct yet, but we're getting there. All right, back over here, and yeah, we need to reload. That's fine. Yeah, select all, delete. Yep. Because we're gonna rerun the upload. Images, added 19. Good. And I'll restart this. There we go. And I knew this wouldn't work, but I want to see the format of that now. That doesn't look like what I wrote at all. Is this output caching right now? Is that what I'm running into? If it is not development, use output cache. Disable cache. So where's it generating that URL? Let's make sure the content it wrote is what I'm looking for here. Because I'm inspecting the entire pipeline here. In here. Yeah, / article images through original PNG. So it is rewriting it. In here. If the link isn't an image, write that link. And that should be working properly. Oh no. Did it break my CSS? You love the Aspire Fridays? Good. I think it broke my CSS. No. It's just not the merged one. Okay. So when it is an image, enable HTML, image source, and then it should just write the URL, but it's getting link.url. If link title is not null, write the title. If there's a link label, write the alt tag. Responsive image classes, yeah. But where's it getting that URL? It should be writing it directly, which tells me something's cached. And we're presenting that cache. Take a look in you. I've got too many copies of this running. It's in here, it's over here. That's in memory now. There we go. Now it has the title correct and the source correct. Okay. So now I can take that source and actually turn that into a minimal API that listens on article images and returns the blob content. The other thing that I want to look at on the blob content, what's the content header that it put on this thing? Properties. Yeah, put it in as application octet stream instead of a proper image content type. Let's update that real quick. So over here, when it does, there's upload to table storage, but for the blobs, blob service client, for each image, process and upload image async. There, get content type file name. So it should have set image PNG. Yes, there it is in Paint. No, it's setting up application octet stream. Is it not setting that header? It's not setting that header. I don't know quite how to do this, so I'm just going to let Copilot do that. Ensure that the content type header is set for the images when they're uploaded. Go fix that. Should Redis have cached that in debug mode? It's not output caching, but it's caching the list of articles. Yes. Because that's how I want it running in production. So we have a secondary cache there. Is that right? Let's give it a shot. Delete all of those. Re-upload. Hey, Thindall, how you doing there? so it should have uploaded. Yep, processed images. Refresh over here. Take a look at one of these. There we go. Image type. Image PNG. Good. Why didn't I just look over here? It's right there. Anyways. Moving on. Now I need a little minimal API that's going to return those images when you request something in, right? It was article-images, right? Right? Isn't that what I... What? So, the rewriting that I'm doing here... No, where is it? Standby. I am getting confused. Yeah, that's already written properly. So... back over here into this. Yeah, okay. So now I need to set up that minimal API so that it can go found it. Go found it? Go find it. Would it make sense to add a debug flag so that it only does the caching in production? Not a bad idea. I'm doing great, Thindall. I gave a talk last night at Philly.net talking about how I used Copilot to vibe code this website. All right, so I now need that little minimal API that will fetch and present that. Down in here. And it is going to hang right next to one of these things. Yeah. So, I'm going to ask Copilot to build that so that I don't need to think about it. Where is it? This one up here. Add a minimal API endpoint that will listen for the /article-images requests and turn those into a response that delivers that image from blob storage with the appropriate content type and expiration header. All right, whatever. And we'll tune what it generates. So, I got about 20 minutes left. Hey, Francisco with a question here. Do I mind if you drop a question regarding VS Code dev containers? Go for it. Be my guest. And if you ask it as a question there with a question mark at the end, we can talk about it and get it loaded into the archive effectively, so you can find it later. If is null or empty, so that's the wrong location. We'll figure that out. Get content type, typed headers. File read all bytes. No. No. What was my session about? It was a 15-minute talk talking about how you can use Copilot to vibe code and how you can take Copilot's interactions and turn it into more of a discussion. Don't just ask it questions, but tell it to ask you questions as it's figuring something out. And this is wrong. No, the base URL, the base folder should be /article-images, and the remainder of the URL should be used to to fetch the image from Azure Blob storage to return. Go fix that. Francisco, continuing here, says, I'm running a dev container on Windows. I have a repository hosted on Windows subsystem for Linux directly, and then I run the dev container from VS Code. It's a simple Nest.js app with NX configured for it. Hot reloading is not working. Hot reloading does work when I run the app outside the dev container. Anybody have a hint? What's the base image that you're running inside the dev container? Are you missing something inside the dev container? Those would be the first couple places that I look to see how you're building and putting the things in the dev container, because what you're putting in there feels like is what's you're running JavaScript Node 20. I haven't seen that. No. I would need to do some further investigation on that. No, that's a Node application, not running .NET Watch, running Watch inside of NPM. So that's good. Remove any double periods. Get blob container client. That's not quite right. Oh, look. BattleNet's working. So this is close. So I'm going to go fix this at this point. So it's not getting a container client for images. It should be getting a container client for... Right? Where'd it go? Blob service client on the connection string. Process and upload image is over here. It should be content-images. Come here, you. We shouldn't hit that, but get blob client for the image path inside of it. That should work now. 30-day on the cache control. And write it out. Do I really need a memory stream? Like, can't I write that directly? Like, interesting, it's caching the output. And it never writes it. Oh no, return results file right there. I guess that works. I need to register this new endpoint, right? So I can do that here. No, I want that. And that should hot reload, but I'm going to need to restart because we rebuilt it. We changed the startup. So now, could not load the image. Why not? 404 not found. So we are in article images. Get the blob container client. Did it log the warning, article image not found? Which it might have done. Nope. Just to be sure. Restart the whole thing. C# dev kit or the VS Code ReSharper extension? I'm using dev kit. ReSharper ends up being very heavy. Ah. What do we got? Endpoint matched multiple. Now, why is it there twice? I have a map get on article images. Is that somewhere else? Nope. That's in the content loader building it, and it's just over here. That's referenced twice. I put it in there twice. Oops. My bad. That's on me. Because I entered it twice. My friend Burke has gotten hot reload to work inside a dev container. Try pinging Burke Holland on Twitter. He does a lot of work with Node apps inside of dev containers. He should be able to offer some insight there. Yep. So go ahead and reload. No errors. That's a start. No warnings either. Yes! Burke Holland. There you go. That's his name. All right. So images are loading properly. I'm going to commit that because that sure looks like it's working. Stage all that. Generate a commit message for me here. Any resources to master OpenTelemetry? No, I don't. You were supposed to give me a thing here. And do the tests still work? Let's double check that too while I'm here. Yeah, there you go. Codebase Alpha caught me on it. Yeah, we're good. Added tests and fixed URLs. Sounds good. But let me merge in my main branch. Yeah. Got a couple conflicts. Let me resolve those. Unstage that. Anything on the CSS, unstage those. And the theme switcher, no. What do we got? Where's the one conflict? And it's just that? Fine. And even then, I'm going to format it again. Yep, do that merge. It's only white space. Go rerun that. Let's see what we get here. Oh, thank you for looking that up, lanky Scottish nerd. The free code camp link there. All right. That's working. And the code's formatted properly. It's interesting. It's not generating messages. Yeah, there we go. Push all those up. So that is working the way that I want it to. Okay. I could roll this out now. But I don't want my test article in there. You know? Yeah. Remove test article. I should also remove the images. Take a look. Where'd they go? Delete that folder. Delete that content. All right. The world could always use more heroes. The new Overwatch season started. I've been collecting the mythic prisms, the in-game currency that you use to exchange for the mythic skins, and I haven't used it for the last season or two. Diva came out, and the Mythic Diva skin came out, and I bought it day one because I had enough currency saved up. So I was like, yes, I will take that now. So I didn't need to save up because I already had it. Yep, let's do that pull request. That's actually pretty good. $19 files changed. What changed? Let's make sure that it didn't change anything that I don't want it to. Added in tests. I should add the tests. And good. None of the CSS changed. I should add the tests to the build and deployment. Right, so this one. I'm going to change this to GPT 4.0. Add a step that runs the unit tests. Yeah, there we go. You're more of a Counter-Strike guy? All right. To each their own. I really like the Overwatch and all the options you have there. Yeah, see, it just adds it at the end. I'm like, you kind of missed the whole half the thing here. I'd like to run the tests before we attempt to deploy so that it doesn't deploy if something's broken. And just move that around. Right, there it is. I don't even want to run it in provision. Move it up here. After you set up .NET, run the tests. So if that fails, this doesn't run, this doesn't run, this doesn't run, this doesn't run. Right, there it is. I don't think... It only runs on push. That's fine. Over here. And if everything ran correctly, it's going to rebuild and redeploy the website right now. I'm not going to... go ahead, delete the branch. It's merged. There it goes. And we'll be able to now put images inside those articles, and they'll deploy and cache and be presented nicely. Broke. Build failed. Building project failed. Restoring packages. What failed? I don't see error. Return false, but did not log an error. And it says, oh, because I have no build in here. Fine. So right there. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Fine. Run it. Thank you. Installing the tools. There we go. There's the tests. Both passed. Logging into Azure, going to set up that deployment. Fantastic. I'm feeling good about that, and then we will get out of here. Because I've got a meeting. Yeah, deploying it now. Look at that. Look at that go. Feeling good. All right. Looks like it deployed and refreshed the cache successfully. There it is, reloading the site, and we're good. Everything's running normally. Nice. So we updated the website. We went through, added a new feature so that the website, the Copilot.John website now allows you to specify images to go with your article, and it will upload, deploy, and present them from Azure Blob Storage. That's terrific. Really happy to see that. Thank you so much for watching. It's been fun writing code, using a little bit of Copilot to help along the way as we figure things out and get through the process here. Let me see who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network as I wrap up and hand things off here. You know what? The Visual Studio folks are hosting a session talking about Postgres databases. Let me get you connected over to them so we can learn more about that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back on Tuesday next week. We'll be writing some more code and diving in and probably get back to Sharpside a little bit then as well. All right? Have a fantastic rest of your day wherever you might be. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.